My name's Evan. I'm 28 years old. Life had taken a turn I wasn't prepared for. After my divorce, I found myself alone, nowhere to go, until I decided to move into my grandfather's old house. It wasn't much, just a small, weathered place on the edge of town, about 10 minutes outside Cheatham, Alabama. The house had sat empty ever since he passed a few years ago. My parents didn't want it, so they left it to us. I figured it was a good place to start over, away from everything. It's isolated, surrounded by dense woods, no neighbors for miles. Quiet. Perfect, right? But maybe too quiet. The house itself was an old wooden structure with floors that creaked under the weight of the past. Every door, every window, every crack in the wall felt cold, even when the heat was cranked up full. It had this eerie chill, like it was always waiting for something. The first few nights were calm. I unpacked, cleaned, and spent evenings on the porch, sipping a beer and watching the wind rustle through the trees. No traffic, just the sound of the woods around me and the occasional hoot of an owl. I thought I could get used to this. But then, the whistling started. The first time I heard it was on the 7th night. I was just getting into bed, around midnight, my body sinking into the covers when I heard it. Faint, but distinct. A whistle. At first, I thought it was the wind, or maybe a bird. But then it was clear. It wasn't just random. It was a slow, broken tune. Off-key. It sounded like someone walking through the woods behind the house, whistling as they went. It didn't sit right with me, but I brushed it off. I figured it was just a drunk neighbor or maybe a hunter out there. But the next night, it happened again. Same time, same off-key tune, but this time, it was closer. I got up, walked to the window, and turned on the porch light. I expected to see someone stumbling around the yard, but there was nothing. I went outside with a flashlight, checking the perimeter of the house, my heart racing. Nothing. No footprints. No sounds of anyone running away. Just the whistling, fading deeper into the woods. I tried to ignore it. For a few nights I stayed in bed, hoping it was just a fluke. But every night, like clockwork, the whistling would start at exactly 1:17 a.m. I know it sounds strange, but it was always around that exact time. No matter what I did, no matter how much I tried to convince myself it was nothing, the whistling came. It always sounded like someone was deliberately messing with me, someone who knew I was alone. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was someone watching me. So, I called the sheriff's office. Deputy H showed up a few days later, an old guy, been on the force for years. When I told him what was going on, he got quiet, almost too quiet. He looked at me with this strange, knowing look. "Your granddaddy used to call us about the same thing," he said. "Someone whistling around his property late at night, always in the spring. We never found anything. Thought he was just getting old. But now you're hearing it too?" I was stunned. I never knew my grandfather had been bothered by the same thing. Deputy H told me to lock the doors and stay inside after dark. I took his advice seriously, though I was already doing that. I checked every window twice. One night, I even shoved chairs under the doorknobs, hoping that would make a difference. But the whistling only got closer. One night, I heard it again, but this time, it was different. The whistling was coming from behind the shed, right outside. It was louder than usual, as though the person was standing just inches from the wall. I grabbed my flashlight and peered through the blinds. I didn't see anyone, no movement. The yard was still, silent. But then, the next night, it came from the front porch. 3 long, drawn-out whistles, then silence, I didn't move. My heart was pounding in my chest. I stood there, frozen, staring at the door. The silence was unbearable. The night after that, I heard it coming from beneath the house, from under the floorboards. It was like someone was in the crawl space, whistling up through the vents. I didn't sleep at all that night. I was on edge, my mind racing, wondering who or what was doing this. The next day, I went into the attic. I had to know if my grandfather had left something behind. Maybe he knew something I didn't. I found a box of his journals, pages filled with his handwriting, describing the very same whistling. He wrote about it happening every spring for over a decade. He didn't know who it was or why it happened, but he thought someone was watching the house, watching him. He even said he used to keep a rifle by the door, just in case. He said it only ever happened when he lived alone. After my grandmother died, I called Deputy H again, told him what I found. He came over, read through the journal, and looked more nervous than I had ever seen him. He told me to be careful, and in a low voice he said, "Don't open the door if you don't know who it is." That night, I stayed up, sitting on the couch with a shotgun across my lap. I wasn't even sure how to load the thing properly, but I wasn't taking any chances. At exactly 1:17 a.m., the whistling started again. This time, it wasn't from outside. It was inside the house, from the hallway. I froze. The hallway light was off, and I could hear the whistling moving closer, step by step, like someone was walking toward me. I stood up, aimed the shotgun down the hall, and shouted, "Who's there?" My voice cracked. The whistling stopped. I flipped the hallway light on. Nothing. No one was there. I checked the whole house, every room, every closet. Nothing. I didn't sleep that night, or the night after. But after those 2 nights, the whistling stopped. Completely. For 2 days, it was quiet. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was over. But on the 3rd night, just after midnight, I woke up to a new sound. Not whistling, knocking. Slow, deliberate knocks. 3 of them. They came from the back door. Then silence. I stayed still, heart pounding. A minute later, I heard something else. Creaking floorboards in the hallway. Someone walking. The hallway light went out. My hands shook as I grabbed the shotgun. I stepped into the hallway, and there it was. A figure, standing at the end of the hall. Pale face, dressed in black, watching me. I screamed, "Don't move!" But it didn't listen. Slowly, it began to move, raising its leg, preparing to run. I yelled, "Stop!" And in that instant, it darted out of the hallway, into the night. I ran outside, fired a shot into the darkness, praying I'd hit it. And I screamed, "Don't come back." The next morning, Deputy H came by. He found the front door unlocked. Nothing had been broken, nothing missing, but whoever it was had a key. I changed all the locks that day and left. I couldn't stay there anymore, not after everything. I drove straight to my parents' house, leaving the old house behind. I thought maybe I was just overreacting, but deep down, I knew it wasn't over. Whatever was out there in those woods, it wasn't going away. It's still out there, waiting. And every spring, it comes back, whistling.